Welcome, right here, right now. This is the Art of Rock. Every Saturday morning, I think we're streaming. I just can't tell. It doesn't actually say, "Hey, you're streaming." Um, no, here we go. We are streaming. Hi, welcome. This is the Art of Rock. Man, we are so pro here. Every Saturday we're doing this, but first and foremost, I want to acknowledge the land that I'm sitting on as the traditional land. Oh, for fuck's sake, and I can't use my fucking chat for some reason. Anyway, I want to acknowledge the Tonga people for being the traditional landowners from whence I am sitting on now. Every Saturday we're here at 9 a.m. and at 12 noon, 9 a.m. LA time, 12 noon. I need more coffee. New York time, Art of Rock here on either wherever you're watching. Just keep watching it. Okay, does somebody want to jump in? Because I have to fix something stupid because Restream is dog shit. Do we want to talk about? We'll kick it off with alternative ways of getting played, but that involves actually, Brett. I'm going to throw it to you, and we're going to talk about your computer. Keep it exciting, keep it short.
All
Go.
right.
Actually, you can ramble on. Rambling's fine. Just keep it exciting.
Basically, one thing I've learned is, gaming machines actually do a pretty good job as music machines, though you don't necessarily need the video card stuff. Um, with that said, I am running an AMD Threadripper now. So basically, this thing's 32 processors running above 5 gigahertz. Essentially, I could pack about four of the previous iteration studios, if you will, into this machine. Um, and that's how I typically like to do things. I invest, once every like 10, 20 years or so, and I throw as much hardware at that device as I possibly can, because at the end of the day, what we like to do in creating music requires a lot of RAM and a lot of CPU, and those things have to be fast, and they have to be able to communicate with your storage quickly. And yeah, exotic computers or exotic PC, they can help you out with that. And the one I did, the one I built, it's also extra silent. It's actually got foam padding on the inside of it that actually helps quiet down the noise of any fans. It's got a liquid cooled CPU. Almost no noise coming from this thing at all, which is also good because I'm also planning on throwing my old Delta 1010 LT card back in there, made by M Audio. If you're not familiar with that, it's a great way of turning a computer into something that can attach to a patch bay, and then you can sit there and literally do whatever inputs you want, or you can also do that, selectively within the digital interface. It's pretty cool. Of course, I'm running FL Studio. Now I'm just rambling, Karl. So, uh,
Okay. Thank you for your rambling. That's fascinating, amazing. Does anybody else want to chime in about sexy computer talk? Sexy, 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 exciting, pertaining to music. And thank you for making that all about music too. That's very important. Razi, I can see your hand.
Yes. Two questions. One, did you make a comparison for how many, hmm, let's say, complex reverbs per session you could do before you bumped into trouble? And did was it a hand build or did you get it pre-built?
so it's a mixture of both in terms of build. I did not personally assemble it, with exception to some drives. I added drives to it. Basically, that is because I have a large pile of hard drives. Being, a computer nerd for 30 years now, everyone gives me their computer, and so I'll never be out of hard drives again. Um, anyway, um, but aside from that, no, I went and I actually, and this is something that anyone could do. I actually just worked with the sales reps. I sat there and I told them, I was like, look, I know my DAW. I use FL Studio, uh, and I know what I'm doing musically. It requires, that I can take MIDI and audio at the same time and have that played back in time. And that's a little trickier than you think because you actually have to deal with ASIO buffering and things like that. And so if you don't take that into account, you'll end up with latency and you'll end up with drops and pops and everything else and what you're trying to do. And it makes it difficult to discern what is the sound you want from the sound that you don't want sometimes. And that's actually what led me down this path. I've been using an old gaming laptop for a while now, but with FL Studio's addition of a whole SoundCloud library that you can start ripping out loops and everything else and start blending those into, I found that there was it would stall sometimes trying to process different samples of different beats per minute, along with marrying that to the clock, the MIDI clock, and the other recorded items I have at whatever tempo that song actually is. And so the simple answer to that was add more hardware. Go to reverb.com. I'm just kidding. That was just a crack for Karl.
Thank you for that crack.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Carrie?
Did I see another hand there?
I
Talk
can't
to me.
find the little yellow raise hand. Brett,
Yeah.
I use Ableton, and I was just wondering how much CPU does like a normal track takes with FL Studios? What's the usage on that run of it?
Yeah. So, and mind you, that depends very much on the song.
Right.
Heavy rain detected near your location.
What was that?
Oh, no, I was just my phone. It told me heavy rains detected. Sorry. It's raining here.
Fair
I'm
enough.
sorry.
That's okay. I just heard a robot somewhere, and I felt the call. So yeah, a typical song where you talk about drum space, synthesizer tracks, and whatnot being recorded on my old machine would have consumed 80% of the processor easy.
Yeah,
The new one, 3.
that's great.
Yeah.
Okay. That's like when I changed last year. Okay. I was just wondering because that CPU will go up. And then if you're trying to play live, oh, forget it. And it cuts out.
So you would actually like the exotic line then, because one of those things that the casing is actually doing there is actually dampening that vibration as well. Not only internally, but if you've got monitors and everything, like literally I've got 2 500-watt speakers sitting there right next to the case that I can fire up anytime I want. And part of that is you don't want that vibration to damage your drives.
Right.
Your data.
That's a good point. Thank you.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, thank you. Yeah, I just installed actually fucking Isotope on mine because I needed a good just a tiny bit of treatment. Cubase 13 is great, but I used to I lost all of my plugins just because they're olden days from Cubase 5, and it's really curious how all of the new stuff, all of it sounds, I don't think it sounds as good. It sounds so nice and polished and prissy, and I hate that. So I'm madly trying to get that gritty, dirty, and it bit me in the ass really hard because I just finished mixing the first Angelspit track from the new album, and it's all Cubase 13. And then I A-B'd it against an unmastered version from the previous album, and there's no comparison. It's like the grit is just not there, and it's not, it doesn't have a sledgehammer approach. So that's why I got fucking Isotope. As you can tell by the way I call it fucking Isotope, I'm really happy with it because sure enough, it's all pretty nicey nice polished shit. So yeah, so that's my life right now. Great fun. But yeah, no, that's good. Point being is that when I put on fucking Isotope, my computer just went, holy shit, can't deal with this now. And I used to have one Isotope on every mix bus, and I'd set them up and then considerably wind them back. so that the punch wasn't as each track wasn't each bus wasn't, and there'll be 10 buses, won't be pristinely mastered, and my computer could handle that. But it can't with the new fucking isotope. I can have like 3 on there. Like I put one on the kick and bass, sub bass, then wildly pull it back. Then I put one on the vocals, and I might put one on the bass. That's all it can handle. If I can get a 4th one in, I'll put it on the drums. But it's like, and then I'm A/Bing that against the native plugins on the Cubase, and it's like, I don't want subtlety, for fuck's sake. I want a goddamn sledgehammer. And it's just, I don't know.
In terms of grid, have you tried grid?
Fuck. I know. I also lost my multi-band compressor and my quadrifuzz, and it's like, Jesus Christ. Anyway, but I persist. I don't know. And what really sucks for me, it's like finishing the first track is really hard, because it's like you've been working on this fucking album for like 12, 18 months, and then it's okay, you're done. All the decisions have been done. And you know what? Production and all that shit is really the art of getting rid of all the excuses. Like when I listen to a track and it's unfinished, it's like I hear a whole bunch of excuses why I can't release this track. But this doesn't work. This doesn't work. And as you go, you have to be getting rid of those excuses. Like, we're done. This bass line works. That's it. These lyrics work. That's it. You tick the box that says they're working, and you're not going back.
Right.
And then there's excuse after it. Oh, the hi-hats don't work. The kick drum's muddy. Blah, blah, blah. Get rid of those fucking excuses. And then by the time it's done and it goes to mastering, that's why I get a mastering person. No more excuses. We're done. But the thing that I'm having now is that it came back and it was like, wow, this doesn't work. I wasn't happy. Alex, I see your hand.
Yeah, maybe you just need to get a saturation or sample rate reduction plug-in on every channel, and then you have your old sound back.
No, it's not as simple as, although I appreciate that, it's not as simple as distortion. There was something that it was doing to the brutality of the compressors, to the brutality and the low accuracy of everything I was doing. It had a sonic emotional impact effect that created something that was still clean, because I have to be really careful of distortion, because by the time it gets to the computer, it's quite fucked. It has been sonically mashed. But I guess there's something about when the old, when it would put sounds together, when there's several sounds on a bus and they get compressed together or multiband compressed together, it would sound, they did something to the higher harmonics and the kick and the thump. And it's interesting that the attacks didn't really matter, the attack time of a compressor, because the computer and everything else wasn't fast enough to figure it out and process it. Where I've had a lot of fun this time going, okay, let's get in there and fuck with attack times and see what we can come up with. But I feel like I'm ranting right now. So I have a lot to learn, and this is part of the joy of joyifying. Alex, your hand is still up. Okay. I fear we've lost Alex. Maybe Alex is getting a pizza.
Yes, it is. What some people do is they buy old samplers and use them as external effects to just route audio through, so they get that
Crunch.
crunching.
I do actually have a Frostwave alienator. And yeah, but it's and that's wonderful. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I don't know how to, it's not, it's hard for me to put my finger on. It's as if I went from airbrushing to very fine paint brushes, or the other way around. It feels like it is sonically, what it's doing to the sound is sonically different. But that doesn't matter because it is what it is, and I have to fucking fix it now. And I have to get used to this new sound to create something from this new sound. So that is kind of an exciting thing because it's like, okay, this album is sonically going to sound different. And that's good. I just have to get out of my comfort zone Raziel, I see your hand go.
Yeah, you kind of brought it around to two things that were coming to mind for me. The one, a prediction that within the middle of the next song that you're mixing, you're going to find your hands on the controls doing the things that the old ones used to do. You find your way into it. And agreed, the way that the summing happens in the DAW could be affecting the things, and the CPU power that you've got could be affecting the things. But I'm also willing to bet that there's a good possibility that just the difference in the control ranges and the difference in the visual topology for what controls you're landing on are making such a much bigger difference that it might even be obscuring the other ones. Possibility. Could be both. Probably both.
Yeah, go on.
But then also a quick question before you respond. You say isotope. What actual module are you using of isotope to do what?
Fucking ozone, fucking 11. And my issue with it is that I can't push it too hard because the computer goes, nope. So I had to up the latency time to like the maximum, and that seemed to get rid of a lot of it. And there's also an internal thing where it'll say processing will go into looking at, you know, plugins and shit, and fuck, I hate using plugins. And it's really interesting with this album. I thought my thought was, okay, I'm going to do what I did in those old albums where I didn't have isotope and I didn't have that thing, and I'm just going to send it to the master and we're going to see what happens. And it comes back and it's a happy surprise. Was not a happy surprise. It was like I lack sonic, all of this sonic. To, you know, and I put multi-band compressors across buses, and people are going to go, oh, don't do that. The reason I do that is, and then I'll put that into another EQ. The reason I do that is there are so many sounds in there that need to be tamed, and the new isotope's got all of these things that make it sound like smooth, sexy, lovely electro. I don't fucking want that. And it's really interesting as well, like going into the new software, that there's a lot of stuff that's taken the, I don't know how to do this, out of the equation. And there's a lot of learning. Like I will for the multi-band compression, there's a button you hit called learn, and it will go through and say, well, here are your main bands. And that's quite handy. You know, and, you know, seeing stuff like, you know, when you see an EQ, there's this whole jumpy lines under it representing the, you know, didn't have that in my day. But, you know, that's great because you can get in there and go, oh, actually, I can see exactly the frequencies. That's the problem here. I'm ranting now. Alex, help.
I think the thing that would be probably most different is that nowadays everything is upsampled and more cleaner. And again, I think just trying this really subtle amount of saturation can go a lot. It can go a long way.
Okay. Thank you. Razi, what do you think?
Yeah, what Alex just said like fits right into, you're talking about things that are blocking your creativity and flow pretty specifically here. And if you can't slap a Ozone 11 on every track, not all the modules on doing an AI analysis of all your tracks at once, but a couple of modules of that should, no problem, whatever your computer is. And this combination of what you're hearing and Alex's suggestion of upsampling, if that's doing like a huge 8x anti-aliasing bit on your stuff and creaming your CPU, and you don't like the sound, turn that shit off. And this is going to get in the way of getting anything done, finding the preferences and seeing if it's actually set that way. But man, like I've done a, let's call it 10-track audio thing with Ozone 11s on every track, doing multiple things, including the dynamic EQs and the spatialization and all that stuff. And they play back fine. I mean, it doesn't kill the computer in any way. So there's something to look at there that's going to be like liberating and fix a sound that you don't like. Possibly it might be worth looking into.
Yeah.
I mean, 8x oversampling if you don't want it. I mean, don't do it.
Yeah. There's a, yeah, it's a learning curve, and it's I don't know, because the album that I'm doing now requires, it is asking for sonic brutality, it is asking for sledgehammer, it is asking for not nicey nice. And something I do like about Ozone 11 is that you can just drop stuff in at any point, whereas the old version was like, oh, it goes from here to here and that's it.
Yeah, you can reorganize the
and
modules.
It does actually, yeah, it does have the original presets, the legacy presets, which is great, because there was a couple of presets I'd always go to and tweak them a bit, and I will say the new one is tweakable. I didn't tweak stuff very much on the old one, but on the new one, it's like, oh, let's go in there and fuck around. And the cool thing is that you can say, I haven't even found where the reverb is, but because the Ozone reverb was fucking great on Ozone 3. I was using Ozone 3, fuck you. You can go in and you can actually literally turn them off and remove them out of the chain. Yeah, and I use almost no stereo widening. And that was the other thing, is that, yeah, Ozone 3 was not subtle at all. It was like, yep, that's fucking stereo widened right there. Anyway, I digress. Brett, help.
So I actually had more questions. So one, I'm curious why Ozone 3 won't run.
Yeah, Cubase, when it pulled it in, it went, no, I'm not touching that. It blocklisted it. I don't know why. And it refused to find it. It might have been because it's so old. Cubase just went, no, it might be a different bit rate. It might be 32-bit versus 64-bit. That's probably it. I don't want to fuck around. Maybe I will. To get one of those converting things. I've already, forked out the money for fucking Ozone fucking 11. Gee, that was money well spent. Yeah, so I don't know. And I just don't want to put anything else on the computer that, it's already going, dude, what the fuck are you doing? Yeah, it really hates me.
I had a second question there.
Please.
Said a moment ago. You were talking about, I'm going to paraphrase. You said something to the effect of people say, don't do that when you use multi-band compression and EQ per track. I'm curious why.
Because they're bastards, Brett. They're fucking bastards. And I'm in the process of getting their addresses. And you know what I'm going to do when I get their addresses? Unmute yourself, chorus, and tell me.
He's going to do a shit. Put it in a bag. Send it to you.
You got it. You got it. That's what I'm going to do to you. I mean, not you, Brett. You fertilized your garden with all of my gifts. All of my nuggets of wisdom and love.
There you go.
Grow your trees. How's the pizza, Alex? Anyway, don't say nutty. It's this thing that it's actually something that I got from here. I was quite inspired to pull back, and that was like a few albums ago too, because I used to really heavily push everything, each bus, and then send it off to mastering and da. Crunk House, Nurse Grenade, and Blood Death RV it didn't have any multiband on it. Hideous and Perfect started having multiband on it. And there are a whole bunch of reasons why those albums sound different, and I could do things. One of which is I didn't use reverb on them. There is no reverb, none on those albums, no reverb. And everything is very dry and very right there. And also, my mastering guy knew exactly how to destroy. It's just, man, it's my whole life has been try to sonically create the most god devastating fucking kick drum, a kick drum that would basically crush the mind of God. you know, up against a wall. I'll stop there. I did want to keep going there, but I'll stop there. And that's there's been a few tracks where I've got that, and and that's a cool thing about this software I'm using now, is that I can go in and I can say every time that kick drops, pull everything out, like more than just sidechain, but you sidechain into the frequencies and everything. So there is just that kick. Yeah, so that's what's going on. Hi, Alex, I see you. This is great. Thanks for the therapy and letting me swear and carry on and be a bastard. I know it's what I do best.
If your audio interface has more outputs, you could also do a send effect to your modular and maybe try to roughen things up there.
Yeah, I could start. I do actually. I've got that old Korg SD 1000 delay thing that I don't use enough. I want to put it in and use it as a routing through thing. Because that's actually something interesting, working with Alan on Hello, My Name Is, which was album number 4, I think, is that he would run everything through effects and through old things, and layer them down. And so he would make the kick and the bass would be one track that was done. And that was a really curious way of working on things. But yes, that's great. I need to, dude, I've got this desk and I've got all these inputs and outputs, and it's like, and it's all patched up, so I have no excuse. Although I kind of did that, but I need to do it more. I want to start using the modular, not like it's a modular, but something else. I'm going to throw this to the resonator super fast.
Yeah, man. The thing with, I'm still a little bit thinking of your isotope situation, and I'm on air on the side of small, lightweight plugins that do exactly the thing that you want, and then they don't have a lot of impact beyond that. But there's one benefit to the behemoth multi-plugin, all communicating environment, and I read a piece outside of the topic of music the other day, or maybe it was even earlier today, and I can't remember the author, but they pointed out that a lot of this LLMs and image generators and stuff we hate them for creativity. I don't want it to make the picture.
Hold on, stop. That's it. You just used an acronym. LOM?
Image generators. I meant the same thing by that, but
okay.
The chatbots and image generators. Clear enough, though. I mean, these things that are taking our jobs and doing the creativity for us, we don't like them for that so much, but they do really good jobs at automating the boring shit before the creativity comes up. And more it's becoming apparent that they're good at this. Hey, here's my paragraph that's disorganized, turn it into a table. Hey, here's I need a palette of blues to reds that reminds me of this. Here's a song with the mastering chain that I really like. Give me an entire stack of limiters, compressors, coloration, stereo widening, dynamic EQ, all set to something to turn my song to that. And then you've got 6 weeks of tweaking those parameters and using those small individual modules. But Isotope does that really well. Like, as far as, here's a thing I like a sound of, and can you give me some modules that do that? If you could say that in English without clicking the generate my chain magical pixie dust, special effects, it would feel a little more serious. But that is essentially what we're doing, and it's not a bad shortcut to doing that. I found myself abandoning those results as many times as I get something that is what I wanted, but we're doing better with that. And the fact that it exists is a long way of just saying I am kind of a fan of using things like Isotope's Ozone to set up that kind of crap for me, because it's definitely faster than dink, plink, dink, plink, or recalling presets from my template of the same kind of mastering chain or whatever. Like, then they're just not even the right starting point. Tell Isotope to do it based on A Forest by The Cure, and you're you know what I'm saying. It's cool.
I agree. Yes, absolutely. Something I am doing though, because I'm an old school bastard, is I have pulled old masters of tracks in. I do this all the time, and I will sonically A/B against them. Yes, to everything you just said. I do want to keep my ear fresh though, and my ear sharp. But I totally agree, and it's got some fantastic EQ and master matching and all that shit. It's great. It's very good. I haven't used it, and I don't know how I'll use it, but it's there, and I will challenge myself to push myself into this strong new horizon. Because once upon a time, some old bastard was going, "These synthesizers, I don't want to touch these damn synthesizers." I don't want to be that guy, although I so am. Alex, you have to help me.
Yeah, again, to the modular, I think you can patch up filters in parallel, so they're basically EQs. So maybe it's something to explore.
A fine idea. Plus, driving them sounds absolutely luscious. Resonator.
Anybody seen the Pro Q4 release videos and tutorials and stuff from FabFilter, their new EQ?
Okay, no.
Well, there's a Dan Worrell video about it, of course, because he's their spokesperson. And user interface innovations in an EQ that are actually kind of useful, kind of neat, worth looking at. Draw EQ curve in a way that is, it doesn't make a million nodes. It respects what it would probably have done anyway. Instead of just drawing a different EQ node at every breakpoint in your pen tool, it'll draw it. And spectral shaping, so you can actually vocode with it and stuff. It's very amazing functionally. And then the UI thing, speaking of plugins that are aware of each other and become meta plugins, it will show you an overview of all instances of your Pro Q4s with a nice list, and it's sortable, and you can filter by color that you've labeled the tracks, and automatically detect clashing frequency bands and stuff on that layout of all of your channels, which is another similar thing to what Isotope's suite was doing with their EQs. And it's just like, I kind of wish my native plugins for Ableton would do a little bit more of this kind of heavy lifting, but these are the big automation, let the computer do some of the work, where using your ear to find all of the clashing frequencies in 56 tracks is possible. We do it all the time. But looking at it and saying, "Hey computer, what do we have?" And you get these little red indicators of clustered frequencies among across your entire song that has these EQs instantiated, and it's a huge shortcut. And mixing with your eye a little bit, but then you use your ear to do the work.
Yes, fascinating. Very, very, very fascinating. Yeah. I don't know. No, it's really interesting, and it's all important. I'm not trying to put anything down or be the butt guy here, but it's I just said butt. The first one out of my mouth is butt. It's really fascinating how it is every genre of music is narrowing into perfection. And Alistair, and thank you, and you kill it. I can't see your name. I'm sorry. I'm an idiot. And thanks for buying the ticket, by the way. Thank you for. I want to talk about the gig soon. But Alistair says dry, crisp sound is big part of why it works. Yes, it is. It's just fascinating. Like there is a battle, intellectual battle within yourself that you're going to be having all the time when technology is going, it's getting better. Oh, you need this, oh, these things, this could do. But where rock and roll's saying, fuck it. And there's a balance that you need to figure out. And I stress you, because you can't let an AI tell you what to do, and you can't let the audience tell you what to do. You need to do it, because the song might be a whole bunch of who gives a shit right now, but in 2 years, a month, 5 years, 10 years, people might go, wow. Or you might say, fuck, I'm so glad I did that because it sparks something else. It's just crazy, isn't it? How much of our life, of my life, is spent trying to negotiate what I'm being told what to do, which could segue very nicely into the gig. Is it all right if I talk about the gig? If you don't want me to put the gig, turn your mic off and say, fuck off, Karl. All right. I just read your lips. Um, so on Wednesday night, we're doing it again on the 19th. We're doing it again on the 19th of February. And Brett and Aaron's not here, and Clet, thank you for buying the in spirit ticket. That meant a lot. And it really meant a lot. So when you've got your music and you go on Reddit and you go on the Facebook groups, and they basically say what you're doing isn't good enough. It's not EBM enough. It's not agrotech enough. It's not ambient enough. It's not cyberpunk. It's not fucking whatever enough. Human nature dictates that you listen. It dictates that you listen, and it dictates the human requirement to fit in with the tribe is so fucking strong that if you're in a place, and it's in such a deep level that if you go to Scotland, for example, and you're there for a while, a week, a month, a year, you will start developing a Scottish accent, or you will change the way you speak in such a way that will allow you to communicate better with your tribe, with the tribe that you are now in, the group of people, the community, the whatever. As it is dress code, as it is makeup, as it is what you listen to, what you drink, what you don't drink, diets, the whole lot. Yes, we do. And I most certainly do. And it's interesting that as I've got deeper into the ambient music thing, I've been exposed to a lot more music that I go, oh, well, that's really interesting. I may or may not like it. This is interesting. This is interesting. This is great. This is what people are telling me, what the expectation. I send my music to labels, and come on, when you send your music to labels and they go, oh, it's not agrotech enough. It doesn't fit into this label. Label. It's called a label for a fucking reason. Like the label on it that says agrotech. They should just call them to hashtags now, or binding genre bullshits. That's what they should call them instead of labels. So you go to the record label and they go, oh, it's too active, or it's this to this. And so you go, okay, I'll do something different then. You do. Or you are steered into that direction because the DJs don't play you. Oh, I want to play a gig with that band. So you're going to try and match their sound a bit, or you just start doing it. You do. I had this epiphany on Wednesday night that everybody's a fucking idiot and they have no fucking idea what they're talking about. And I got it mid-show. During the rehearsal, I love Matt Richter and Auto Dealer, awesome. Mid-show, I sort of had this realization that I've set this up, that the instruments are there, everything is set up on this keyboard that I can play anything I want, and there's a mud map in front of me, the rough score that's telling me where to go, but in front of me is a keyboard with pedals that are going to give me from 0 through to 10 of dynamics, and there's a blaster beam sitting in front of me that can go from 0 through to 100. So why don't I try to have an experience similar to Kraftwerk playing Cologne or fucking Berlin in 1974, where people got blown away because something happened between the artist and the audience and the artist and the audience, and this thing started growing because it's all live. Why don't I boldly go? And I did. And it was not ambient music. It was really, I just had this, I had this understanding of this is how new music is created, live. And it was just this great, like really great. I don't think I ever want to use a sequencer again. And you could go anywhere. And then I was thinking, how would you do this with multiple people? Like, how do you communicate? How many, I always used to joke with Jekyll Switch, my old band, that the best way for us to get inside people's heads was to play Scribble. What's that? Scribble, the game where you draw pictures? Pictionary. Because picturing is great for understanding non-verbal things. You get inside someone's head really fast when you start playing pictionary with them. Because, and then that goes across to music. And I just had this really crazy understanding. And the other thing was, holy fuck, I love 5.1. Like having something, and I was watching the audience, and you can always tell when an audience like you, because at the beginning of the night, I love being out greeting people as they come in and they do or don't know who I am. It doesn't matter. You know, hey, thank you so much for coming. Having a really positive, like, you know, welcoming experience. Then you do, and then they shake your hand and go, oh yeah, I'm really looking forward to the show. But then afterwards, their pupils are dilated. That may have been the drugs. And they're shaking your hand going, fuck, thank you. And it's like, well, hey man, thank you, because we did that together. And you can tell that they really liked it. The recording I made did not do justice to the sound because the subs in that room are fucking insane. Like chairs were vibrating. And when I put the pedal down on the emulator 4 and it bubbled, shit was vibrating. And then when you hit that low note on the blaster beam, you felt it. But it was really fantastic that, you know, each song started with the front two speakers and a little bit of sub, but as it moved and the pedal increased, sounds at the back started coming up, and you could see, and you could see where people were starting to be immersed in this sonic field. And so that was it. And February 19th, we're doing it again. It's going to be me and Matt again, totally different set. It will be more songs. I've already put these songs on the Patreon. But whether each song goes for 5 minutes or 20 minutes, I just don't know. But man, holy fuck, it's hard playing a blaster beam sitting down. And because you got to put a lot of weight on it to mute the strings. But when the blaster beam came in, and I was, because it is really a two-handed instrument if you're moving notes around and stuff. It was just, my mind was blown. So there's going to be more of that shit. Okay, link. Yes, hold on. I'll put the link in here to the next show. Hold on, it's coming. And then I want to talk about, all right, there we go. That's the link. That then comes into a conversation again where these lounge room sets, like, you know, we're talking about the living room gigs. And actually Matt was talking about doing a West Coast lounge room tour. And I just went, oh my God, yes. Because, you know, I told him about Art of Rock and we've been having this conversation. And he was saying, setting up a 5.1 is easy because a lot of houses have 5.1 in them. And little speakers this big. And that's all they need to be because you're filling a room with 10 people in it. We played to 20 people. It was just the shit that you can do sonically in a small room. Like, and here's another thing as well. If you play in a big theater, how do I say this correctly? The great thing about playing in a black box theater, using 5.1 and having stuff quite drastically panned, is that because of the size of the room, your brain registers it as an environment, as a sonic environment, as opposed to sound coming from that speaker, sound coming from that speaker. You don't hear that anymore. You're floating through this thing. When it starts getting too big, you start hearing stuff coming from that speaker over there because everything's not mashed enough. Know what I mean? It's not gelling enough. So there's a whole bunch of me talking shit. Alex, what do you think?
I just wanted to ask how the audience was, how they reacted. Were they
Really
like,
well. Really,
but
really
were
well.
they attentive, where they're like
Oh
in a
yeah.
trance.
Oh yeah,
Transit.
they were there. And that was a really another interesting thing is that with Angelspit, so there's this thing, and this is where it gets into magic. You can feel people. I saw that look on your face just then, Alex. You can feel them. And that's why it's really important for me to, before a show, and I do this with Angelspit in every fucking gig I've ever done, to be at the merch table and to meet people. And you're not, well, sure, you're there to sell merch, but you're also there to meet people and to make a connection. Because when you're playing a show and, oh, there's that person who I met and I shook their hand, you are now no longer afraid and you've got an ally. Because if you shake their hand, they are your fans for life. And no matter what happens on that stage, they've got your back and you can feel it. And that was the really curious thing about feeling you could feel them. And that's a great thing about playing live is that it's like, okay, people are getting bored now. I can feel them getting bored. But there's only like one or two places where I could feel ever so slightly people coming up. And in that situation, all I had to do was drop the pedal a little lower. So the expression pedal is controlling a whole bunch of different stuff. And it might be opening a filter or making a sound louder or whatever it's doing. But it's increasing the woo factor. All I'd have to do is bring that up a little bit or and actually there was one song where I just went off I was mucking around in the sound check and I came up with these really cool chords and I like, that's going to be a fucking song because it sounds beaut. And in this song, I started just bashing those chords out. And you could feel, and they were sort of like grand waves of the eternal glory of the universe waving over you. And you could feel they were in it. And thanks also to Rob for doing some video work as well. Razi, I see your hand. Did that answer did that answer the question, Alex? All right, cool. Yeah. So yeah, it's really important to be attuned because the other thing about it is a performer is you're right there making eye contact with them, and you're watching these people, and you're helping guide the experiment. Raz, go hit me.
I'm sorry, I did not have a question. I was just enjoying the description.
Okay.
The sermon.
Excellent. Thank you. So what's exciting now is that I've already started, and I was saying this to Matt, you know, I just said, I know you're thinking about the next set, the next gig. And he goes, yeah. Fuck, he's a good lighting guy. Like he's the technical director of a theater and his lighting is his jam and shit, he's good. And then we had a guy named Hayden who was actually doing the lights. So the thing is that, as you may have seen in the video, we put up 2 ladders because there's always ladders. If you work in theaters, there's always ladders before a show because you got to climb up and change the lights. And we were trying to figure out what can we do to this set to make it look cool and to make it look like us and we just moved the ladders into place. And if we light these ladders and put stuff on the ladders, it's going to become not only something really, it is a cool lighting thing, but it's also very Matt and Karl. If Matt and Karl, who are both theater techs, and everybody in that room knew us as theater techs, and another interesting thing, remind me, they see those ladders, and a few of the techs walked in there and they said, did you forget to strike? Oh, guys, you got to strike the ladders. And we went, no, that's part of the show. It was just really interesting. But one thing that I was really one thing I was really happy about was after the show, because you know people come in groups, in a couple, and then there's another couple, and like a group of 4 friends come. And after the show, everybody was intermingling and everybody was talking, and most of these people had never met each other. And that, to me and Matt just went, that was the absolute defining. That means we did it. That not only did we create really pretty fucking good music, actually, we did a good job, but we created an atmosphere where people dropped their guard and spoke to these other people. And before and after the show, I kept saying, look, come and play with the blaster beam. And, you know, people going, oh, I'm scared of touching it. You know, it's impossible to break it. It's basically a house. You can't break it. So fuck with this thing. And then afterwards, you know, people were all over it going, what the fuck is this thing? And it was great. Eliza, come to a gig and you'll play with that beam. Alex, talk to me.
Did you manage to, or did somebody record it?
Yes.
Video?
Yeah. We had a good video that was down the back of the hall that shot the whole thing. He was doing a few close-ups as well. But we got well, technically 4.1 because I wasn't using the center speaker. I don't know if I will use the center speaker. I don't know. But once I bounce the recording out, I might use that center speaker for a few things. And I want to release it as, I don't think YouTube does 4.5.1. Is that correct? Wow, no one knows. I don't know. So we've got it does?
It does.
Wow. Yeah, okay. Because I want to figure out how to do this, because the way we're going, I'll be performing the entire third album between this one and the next one. So as far as this goes for you, I would be suggesting that firstly, these lounge room gigs, I just think that these are such a great idea. And sure, man, you can get in a lounge room and you can fucking do loud industrial or whatever. But when you're going to someone's home or someone's lounge room, it's most likely there's going to be a bunch of different microphones going on, different speakers. Utilize them. And have a board or a desk or something that can go, well, here's the stereo version. Here is the Quadra version. Here's the Quadra plus a sub version. Yeah, just... I have had a real understanding of experimentation, and I want to encourage you to find that as well. And I think that's the understanding sounds kind of like difference between an orchestra versus a movie. Okay. Yes. I just want to, like, it was interesting because before I was doing this, I was listening to the music going, I don't know if this is any good. I don't like all those doubts and stuff. But, you know, when you're in a band and you've done a whole bunch of gigs, you go, yeah, I know this shit's solid. I know it works. I know the audience is going to react. All you have to do is bring it. And the extremely exciting thing, terrifying and exciting thing was I've never performed this before. All of the people in the room don't know this music. All of them, because it hasn't been released yet. Half of them aren't familiar with the band. Some of them know me as that loud idiot. Because get it, believe it or not, in real life, I'm actually a loud idiot. Wow. Right? Right? I know. And they don't understand that actually I am this sage Gandalf-like character who brings eternal, yeah, fucking A, brings eternal, fuck you all. But it was a really fun, it was a fun way to take a risk. And it was interesting that when I was doing it, it's like everything is on the line now. Everything is on the line. And I haven't felt that in such a long time. And the other thing we were very happy about is that there were two people in there who were total strangers. And we didn't know, and they found it through butter, like through the internet. Everybody else was someone I found, somebody either Matt knew or I knew or our friends dragged in, or they were work colleagues. And you don't want to play to work colleagues and you don't want to play to friends because they're going to support you once or twice. You need to find strangers because they're the ones who are going to really bring it. Which is interesting. It's so hard. So I can't even remember if I said this last week, but when I did one of those posts, whether it was a video of me and Vulture Culture Alex, or whether it was whatever, each got about 1,000 imprints across YouTube, across Instagram, across TikTok, across Facebook, across everything. Roughly, it was seen for a second or a swipe or a whole play about 1,000 times, give or take. And I uploaded easily 10, probably 20. So that's about, let's call that safely 10,000 imprints of things saying, hey, there's a gig on. Hey, it's really cool. Here's the link. 2 people came. From that, 2 people, because every single other person was me or Matt. We had a QR code on our phone that had a gig thing and a QR code, and we'd stick it in our friends' faces. Like all the other ones were from there, from direct interaction, which I found to be fascinating. Like, how the fuck are you supposed to advertise, get something out? How are you? And we did do some, Jason from the record label did some Somewhere Cold. He did, the record label is called Somewhere Cold. Jason did some paid Facebook ads, and it yielded almost nothing. It yielded no sales. It yielded 1 or 2 people showing interest. And by the way, people who show interest, stuff happens, you know. If 10 people say they're going to come, 2 or 3 will come. Yeah, that's my thing. So yeah, Grim, welcome. And it's great to be reading this madness that's going on in these chats right now. I really appreciate it. Does anybody else want to throw in at this point, and talk about their experience, ask me about their experience, perhaps build an experience of your own? Well, nothing. Alex?
How long did you play?
Just over 45 minutes. I flipped the hourglass twice and then I gave up flipping it. It was funny because where it was, normally it's right in front of me and it's easy to flip, but in this case it was on top of the modular, so I had to get up to flip it, and I just went, fuck it, I'm not doing not doing that anymore. Yeah, about, I don't know, 50 minutes or so. And it was, you know, like I said, it was fun because if this song isn't working, I could make it shorter. If this song is working, I could make it longer. And also, let's just sit here on this kind of cloud of E while I do something on the blaster beam. It was fun. Brett.
Did the audience see the hourglass? Do you think they got
Yes,
got an understanding of it?
I think they got the gag.
Okay.
They had a they could see it. Whether they could see it draining, I'm not sure. But and it is funny, but the hourglass is kind of important, and it's not, you know. But I just realized, fuck, I should have put it somewhere else. Just reasons.
Or maybe a big one.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Get out there and just like. Shh.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think I need to change the way I am performing. Because it's like when I was doing a sound check, some of my coworkers came in, and obviously everyone there, all the tech staff are musicians, and they sat there and they just drenched themselves in 5.1, and then they came up and they said, "What the fuck are you doing?" They wanted to see what was going on, and I'm sort of thinking, how do I do this? Do I do it on the side? How can I play this in such a way that is more, how can I break the fourth wall more? How can I experiment? Because I've been given this get out of jail free, like this realization in my brain. And an interesting thing, you know how I don't know about you, but my head is a screaming mess every morning. And I've been waking up for the past few mornings and it's like clear. It's like, fuck, I needed that. Ivan, talk to me. Thanks, Brent.
So, this is probably the happiest I've seen Karl in ages. So, obviously, playing the live show worked.
Yeah.
I am really glad that back in August we talked about you playing this show, and then you did the thing because you were very on the fence back in August.
And it was canceled and pushed back twice.
Yes, and I'm glad that it worked because I mean, like it's sounding like you created the kind of experience that like Throbbing Gristle was shooting for back in the 70s, like that kind of fully immersed in the moment. We're fucking doing something awesome. Pay attention, sort of thing they used to do. Back when they was kids.
Yeah. So and I'm also reminded that I love improvising and I love, and everything was set up for that. So I did a little bit. It was really interesting that those, that famous Klaus Schultz one where he's sitting on the floor with the modular synths, that is predominantly improvised, and same with the old classic Tangerine Dream. Sure, there was a mud map, but predominantly it was improvised. And yeah, I just really, I don't know, man. It was really, it was a good thing. It was a good connection with God music.
Bingo.
Yeah. Yeah, thank you. So, thank you. Was there anything else you want to throw in at this point?
I might be running out of stuff.
What is that thing behind you that goes grrrr? The
lights?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just a string of
Does
Christmas
it make,
lights.
and it makes sense, it sounds.
No, that one is not sound reactive. It's just
But we can hear it.
Can you?
Yeah.
There's something that has been referred to as a woodpecker that plays while you're talking.
Oh, I did not know. It must be picking.
It's probably the focus or lens gimbal built into your camera, like the.
It probably is.
Like
But
that,
now
if,
it's
if the
stopped
mic
doing
is
it.
in it.
Although I think what's happening is that now it's not doing it. We jinxed it.
Dude, the like ambient noise floor in this room is like Mount Everest high. So
Fantastic. I love it. Thank you, Ivan. Thank you very much. Alex, talk to me.
Maybe you can look for an hourglass that has a sand that reacts to UV light, so the audience can see it because it's fluorescent.
That's a great idea. I have a funny story to tell you about UV lights, but I'll do that later. Thank you. Razi.
Were you listening back off the room, or did you have a monitoring situation?
No, I was just in the room. Fuck, it was loud. Oh, it wasn't like some of them wanted it louder. This is another fascinating thing, is that I didn't think, I don't know if ambient music is filling the requirements, or maybe I haven't seen it yet, of what people want. Or maybe I hit a nerve, or maybe I saw a nerve that really needs to be hit. And it exactly as you said, it was Throbbing Gristle. It's that magic of something that can be everything from the beauty of space to the terror of falling into a black hole. to the absolute cacophony, and they want to hear all of that. Because the audience responded really well to that. And it's hard to verbalize. Glad you like the credit card. It's hard to verbalize that, maybe I haven't seen it, maybe I'm not aware of it. Maybe the Grateful Dead have been doing it the whole time. Of course they have. But maybe there is something magical here. And I use the word magical not lightly. That there is something that can, I don't know. I look back always at those pivotal concerts that spawn so much music, and I just want to be a part of that. I want to make something like that, and to do that takes risk, and to do that takes not listening to people telling you what to do. And it's really hard not to tell people, it's so hard taking that risk. It's so hard, going out alone, because the fact of the matter is, I think everyone wants to go out alone. Everybody is looking for a thrill. And hey man, they are. And maybe it's our jobs as musicians to lead that thrill. Maybe that's part of the whole problem. Maybe that we aren't feeling the strength, the confidence, the support to lead the thrill anymore, because everything about music, down to the frequency spectrum bullshit, has become so fucking homogenized. There is this expectation of perfection, and perfection is so fucking boring. Yeah. Razi, what do you think?
Yes.
Love you, Carrie. See you soon.
You touched on bringing the audience in when they want to see what's going on a little bit, and that's something I've thought about a lot. There's a lot of really bad solutions to that in rock and progressive and jazz and metal, where they tilt the keyboard forward or put a mirror above the whole rig or something. And of course, the ultimate solution is just iMag, where there's cameras and huge screens on everything, and you get close-ups and dramatic crane shots. And someplace between that, though, in the performance, we've got this challenge, kind of a little history of laptop and backing tracks bands in this genre. And you've got the advantage of having physical instruments. And the one thing that I've been able to respond to when I'm thinking about this, watching a band, is predictable separate instruments that have a sound or a function that are consistent throughout the set. This is the thing that makes the boom when you hit it with a stick. This is the thing that makes the violins, pads, and screaming strings over here. This one knob over here is the filter sweep that makes it go crazy. And this D-beam theremin controller is the thing that brings in the bass. Stuff like that. So there's discrete actions that are tied to classes of sounds or performative gestures that are predictable and viewable, in addition to just having ways of orienting the gear so that people can see stuff going on. But there's a lot to think about in that. It's like a whole sort of building a personality for your performance, and how much flailing your arms around you want to do for it. But to sort of amplify that and bring consistency to it for the audience is I think a skill and a pretty cool performance aspect.
I think I am really gravitating to the idea of having my back to the audience and watching a screen. However, I don't I was thinking there's a whole bunch of things that you could be doing with it, but I don't want it to become a watching the screen type of experience. I don't want it to, I need to think about it. That I don't, I played Ice Planet 9000 videos and Rob's video, which is an Ice Planet 9000 video, in the background. And I don't know what I want to do, which is exciting. I don't know what can I do that is going to enhance the, what will enhance this. And like as much as having, my mind always goes to, if it was 1974, what would we be doing? We'd have a guy behind us painting, or we'd have, there would be projections, there would be stuff, but it's actually funny that this is the sort of area where an AI comes into it really beautifully. That, Rob was showing me how on his stuff you can build an environment, and in real time you can travel through it. Which is actually something I want to do. It might not be at this one, but I want to do a thing where it is a journey to Sirius B, to the supermassive black hole in the middle of our solar system. And as you're going towards it, it's all spacey and it's all beautiful. And then you're in orbit around it, then you fall into the orbit, then you go past the event horizon, and it builds and builds and builds to absolute black silence. In a thing like that, everybody would be watching the screen, but I sort of wonder, I'm just thinking like, what's, I don't know. Thank you though. These are good thoughts. Ivan, where's your mind?
One of the guys that goes to the synth meetups here in Milwaukee is really, really, really into generative, like 3D video generation, like using modular video generators and like doing crazy stuff. I will get his contact info when I see him again and put him in touch, because
Thank you.
He is doing stuff that you do want to see. Also, on the like doing it live and being like live, like improvising and stuff, like there's a whole lot to be said for, fuck you, I won't do what you told me. And like that level of live, I think, is it brings a certain kind of novelty to the situation and unpredictability that makes it more fun as a result. Like everybody thinks what they want is like a perfect audio experience, and essentially to just go see the musicians play the studio track except live. But there's a lot to be said for not doing that. Making it an actual experience instead of just playing the studio track, except now you're live. Like like that has a time and place, but I'm not, like we've gotten so far away from doing that sort of thing. We're improvising on stage that it's getting kind of boring. And so, maybe this is the right time to start shaking that back up.
Also, Anukit. I'm so sorry. I'm going to get your name wrong for the rest of my life. Suggested smells, because we've talked about like scent. Jen, thank you, Jen. Jen said, thanks, Jen. Jen said smells. My only issues with smells is that some people are allergic to it. My girlfriend is actually the smell meister. She's like the perfume queen. And, oh my God, she's got such a good nose. But I would love to do. My thing is actually cinnamon and vanilla, but she hates cinnamon and vanilla. So it's like, and that's another. I'd love to do it. I'd love to figure out it's the allergies. It's such a great idea.
You're pushing up against allergy risks as soon as you
and there's a lot of them.
Using smells.
But this is the whole video thing is really fascinating because, like, I'm lucky that I have Mike from Video Punks, and he is a never-ending source of video material. And I actually have he sent me these VHS long play 8-hour VHS tapes, And there's an idea. That would involve TVs. That's hard work. I don't know if I could be fucked. You know exactly what I went just then. But and that's the other thing is that if you do this, man, it's so fucking crazy. If you turn up to someone's house and you give them a week to prepare a spot, and you say the band will require 6 foot by 8 foot to perform on. The rest of the area is yours, and you can make the visuals and I don't mind people projecting onto me. Don't mind it at all, as long as it's not in my fucking eyes. If it's there or there, that's great. Man, if I had a space, and if I knew someone was coming in a week, I would do my fucking lounge room up to look like a goddamn spaceship. Let me tell you. So. Yeah, this is really fascinating. Like the whole modular generative stuff. That seems to have gone out of vogue too. Man, I remember that shit was everywhere. Like everywhere. Everyone's getting into it, and now it's like I can't find it anywhere.
It's kind of expensive.
Yeah, it is.
Weird. But it was all over the place at NobCon this last year.
Okay.
Like, all over the damn place. And
okay.
Like the varieties of ways people are doing it seems to have really it's going kind of crazy. Really got to get his contact info for you.
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. Yeah, because we were thinking about adding someone to the bill, but there's issues with that. It's a Wednesday night. And just reasons on a Wednesday night. And it makes sense for maybe we should have a visual artist. Who just hits that screen. I don't know. Yeah, fascinating. What did the Dead do? They had like a overhead transparency with a clear bowl of water on it, and someone was dropping ink in it. Ink and oil colors into it, and they were projecting that onto a wall. That's what they were doing. Yeah, good fun. Okay, did anybody else want to? This is really lovely because it's talking about an experience. This is talking about like we are immersive. Even now, we're going into smell. Did anybody want to bring anything else up or okay, we could talk about Diana had a great idea about releasing finding other places to actually release your music, such as video games. Shoot, Diana.
Yeah, I mean, I personally go into every now and then get ready to go to a deep dive, finding music in places I might not usually find it. So I was wondering, have you either heard or released your music on alternative platforms like music videos, like virtual reality, things like that, like the grocery store? I don't know. Just curious as to what other platforms you might think of.
Fantastic. Razi, what are your thoughts on this?
Yes. The end. The number one most Shazammed, played, searched for, YouTube, streaming services, all of it, the songs that I had featured on the Rock Band network, on the Rock Band video game. So as far as it being a worthwhile thing on that end, yeah, I mean, yeah, you get the power of, being delivered to a marketplace of people who are already into the game, and if you've got good stuff on it and the thing is authored well, holy cow, yeah. But then on the other end, you're talking about like deciding to release. You can't just sort of make the decision, I'm going to put my stuff in a game. You need relationships, and you need the patience to try to do that. And maybe there's a solution to that that's like a step by step. But I kind of backed into it, and all the composition jobs that I've had in that regard were not because of my particular skill set. They were just like, here, this needs to be worked on. But that's an alternative marketplace, and that is, my royalties are coming from Microsoft, through Xbox instead of through the streaming services. But it's a very real ripple effect as far as listenership goes and getting out into other royalty bearing streams. I don't get rich from it or count it as an income, but it's a huge blip above the stuff that didn't get into that game. And I don't think there's a lot of other reasons than other than Microsoft's reach and the fans' reach on that regard. And the one other thing I'll add is that working on a team doing game authoring and game design and play testing and quality control and assurance is really, really rewarding in and of itself. That kind of work, if you're into it, where you're all pulling for the playability and how fun this is going to be. The music is the music. It's done. You don't have choices about that. But you're working on, do the lights sync up? Do the gameplay actions sync up? There's a whole other universe of creative expression going on there, and teamwork. And so lots of reasons that this is a thing to have on your mind as a creative, and not just as a musician, but yeah, for sure.
Totally. Thank you. Brett, what do you think?
A long time ago, there was a platform, and maybe it's still around, called Second Life, and it was in the heyday of chats and whatnot. This was kind of I don't know. This was like video gaming, a chat engine, really. But you could actually set up entire worlds there, and there were concerts going on at that time within Second Life. So I never played with it a whole lot. It's more that I became aware of it, and I became reminded of it when Fortnite. I got a buddy who plays Fortnite. I'm not really into it myself, but apparently, like Snoop Dogg and Metallica both had concerts within the game. So I just kind of thought those 2 points were interesting.
Thank you. Yes. Actually, I want to throw this to Alex because your hand was up and it went back down again. Alex, what do you think about this?
Yeah, two thoughts. The first one, how do I get on Guitar Hero if I don't have any guitars in my track? And the second one is, I think it's not really a release platform, but many people are doing gigs in virtual reality with, how's it called? VR chat, where they connect a line into their microphone and then rig themselves up and then basically have a small concert in virtual reality.
Yeah, thank you. Razi, what are your thoughts
Yeah,
on
Brett,
this?
Second Life in particular. I don't know where it's at right now, but there was an alternate desktop access app for the thing, for the whole rendering engine. And we had a fan of the band that was involved in that. And so the invitation was out to participate on that level. And I also had some fans and associates that were involved in making merchandise and running clubs within Second Life. This goes back a decade or more when this was sort of in its heyday. But that is another example of an outlet where the virtual merchandise, the avatar that we created for me to perform with, the guitar I was holding in the avatar, was a whole other form of good, solid creative expression that went with the music and the set that I did. As far as the performance end, you just sing into a mic and the gestures and poses and stuff are done by the software. It's not doing any it's not doing any tracking or anything like that. You just perform in a club that somebody owns that you know, and connected well with selling merchandise and getting tips and, having fans do the virtual applause and stuff. So that's another I highly recommend involvement in. It's if there's an environment like that and you have some connections to help you be a native of the platform and not just a visitor in some ways, it's another rewarding and creative, cool thing to do. And yeah, no, that's all on that.
And thank you. Here's my take on it. So, getting streaming stuff like Spotify and fucking XYZ is easy because you pay for it or it's free or whatever, and it's there. Getting into a supermarket is, well, getting onto a game for Us Mere Mortals is really hard, and either you're paying someone to do it and they take a cut and then they own the rights to those songs, and they will like licensing has become, I think it's a rot. People are jumping up and down about, I could give you 20 things right now to fucking get angry about, way worse than Spotify. Like the fucking, can we have a conversation at some point about Bandcamp? Then can we talk about SoundCloud? Then can we talk about Pandora's payout system? Then can we talk about Tidal's absolute lack of distribution and the closed fucking, can we please? Sorry. So firstly, never sign your rights away to a licensing agent because they're going to own you. And you need to know the fine print. This is a nightmare. I really just don't do it. Because there's all these 7-10 year contracts, and oh my God, they're bullshit. And then at the end of it, you may have to pay them money so that, because they've been for their time and effort in throwing your songs to things. It's bullshit. That's the first one, and they're going to get it onto Netflix, which is worth nothing these days anyway. And they're going to be trying to get it to sports fucking games or play it on the NFL or whatever. So do it and get fucked. Option B is, if you're trying to get into shops and supermarkets and stuff like that, that's usually through the major record label, who are fucking you. And they will steal those songs from you and fuck you until you are dead. And then give you a bill. So option 2 is to get fucked. What were the other ones there, Diana? Oh, computer games. Some computer games are sheer luck because somebody stumbles upon you, or an employee likes you, or something like that. They know about you. My Fortnite thing was sheer luck that they knew about Angelspit. And that was great. And it's interesting that I didn't get much of a bump at all from that. There was only a very slight hump, but nothing crazy. Like, I thought more people would follow me on Spotify. I thought people would go to my merch. I thought, no. There was a tiny little blip. But hey, man, I'm grateful that they did it. And in that situation, they were absolutely clear that this is for a set period of time. After that, we owe you nothing. You owe us nothing. The song is yours. But during that time, and it wasn't even exclusive as well. So I could keep pimping that song around. It's interesting that I a while 2 years ago, everybody was all about getting licensed, all about, got to get your music on Netflix, on games, not anymore. Because I think people have figured out that it's a fucking rort, that the companies that are holding the gates are charging you. Oh my God, I'm not even going there. The best way to get exposure, I think, is through, there's a channel. Hold on a minute. What's that channel called? It's this free channel, and it's really amazing, this place. And it's all you have to do, MTV TV. That's it. And they will, and if you want to get your stuff played on it, all you have to do is email them, and they will play it. And if you have if you do a stream, always raid back to them, because we've got to keep them going. And yeah, Just got to keep them going. Yeah, that's my thoughts on it. Wasn't that negative and terrible, except at the end there. I would love to get back into live shows. That was one thing about the pandemic that I kind of missed. I got to be very careful how I word that. There was a lot of wonderful live shows going on. And I was doing one a week. I like did 20 or 20 something shows during the pandemic. And they were good fun. I probably don't really want to do them again. I don't know. I want to do something different. I don't know. I wish somebody would invite me to do a fucking ambient thing. Yes. So, yeah, there you go. Does anybody else want to jump in here? And I just had used that as an opportunity to swear and tell everything to fuck off because I'm a bastard. Anyone? Does anybody else have a topic they want me to destroy? Yeah, so I'm sorry, Diana. It's and that's the other thing is that you're not. Where do you find itty bitty tiny bands? Where? Well, MTV TV, but that's counterproductive for you. Because all of so many other places, like you've got to be in with them to get on their channel or something like that. There's a lot of streaming. Actually, we should talk about that. I've got a long list of radio stations that I send both Ice Planet 9000 to and also Angelspit to. And there's a lot of podcasts and a lot of everything else. And they're not all, we only play Agrotech and we only play EBM. Quite a lot of them go, oh, yeah, man, we'll play that. It was funny, man. I was talking to, the Twitch DJs. Thank you, Jen. It's really interesting how I was talking to, Matt, and he goes, man, I know all these people in college radio stations. And I went, when was the last time you spoke to them? And he went, 15 years ago. And I went, Matt, they're not there anymore. Everything has changed. A lot of those college radio stations do not exist. Everything has changed, which is either really good or really bad. I don't know. Does anybody else want to jump in? And change is great. Isn't change great? Because if you're at the beginning of that change making rules, that becomes process, which eventually people will hate you for. I'm such a bastard. Alex, I see you. What pizza did you have tonight, Alex?
Tomato and mozzarella.
Fantastic. How much did it cost?
€1.90.
Love it. Where did you get it?
It's a supermarket, of course.
What was it called? What supermarket do you go to?
It's.
I probably went to one like it.
I don't want to say too much because it's like there aren't that many, and you could guess
Sure.
where I am. Two things. I discover music as a listener on YouTube through friends and also through Bandcamp, but not through their discovery function, but just going to albums that I like, see who bought it, and then look what else they bought.
I think, this comes really well. Thank you. Absolutely, yes. Once again, we are reminded of the importance of back scratching. And I'll be really honest. So, Matt and I have been talking about, so if we want to get somebody else on, how do we do it? We pay for that black box theater that we perform in, and we pay for it because the money is going back to the center, and it is helping, and I think I've said this, it is helping youth, unhoused, homeless youth. So you better fucking believe we're going to put money in for that. But here's our first dilemma, is that if we pull somebody else in, they need to pay for a third of that. It's not just, halvesies now, it's thirdsies now. But if that person thinks that this is pay for play, then there's a big problem in that. They're not understanding. And let's just say that person, we didn't make them pay for it, which I would be making them pay for it, because you got to pull your weight, mate. That's it. They have to be doing, they have to pimp the shit out of this. And that's the difficulty. And I'm not just talking about this gig, I'm talking about MTV TV, MTV TV and so many other things that are setting up to build a community at cost, at their own cost. It's not enough to say, I'm going to have my band on that, and thanks so much, great. You have to scratch their back now. It's like the Industrial Incisions playlist. You have to send me your fucking music. And don't complain to me anymore that you're not getting heard, because, the further down this path we go, there's so many places where you can get heard. And yes, it's 1 or 2 or 3 people. But what I am learning is that those 1 or 2 or 3 people may be more of an impact than hundreds. You got to pimp, you got to scratch everyone's back, and you've got to work towards keeping everything going, because, the only way for and it's actual word of mouth. It's, as I have learned, making a posts, we've talked about this before, making a post, it's easy, but its yield is 0, or it's 0.0001. You have to text or message someone and say, remember to stream back to raid back to MTV TV. Remember to promote this thing, because the algorithm has let us down. It's owned by a fucking corporation. Do you think they give a fuck about your band? You're creating content so someone can go past it with their thumb. That's it. Dude, I love, something I love about being on the trains is I sit next to people and I just watch them. Scroll. It's a drug. So the way you are going to reach somebody is by having a communication with them, a conversation. And you must say to them, help me promote my thing. You will be on my thing, on a slot, on my playlist, on my whatever. All I ask in return is that you pimp it once a month, once every 2 weeks or something. Fucking help me, help you, help us. I don't know why people don't do that. Maybe they're just too busy fucking wasting their fucking lives enjoying their drugs. I don't know. So get your fucking shit together, because the person next to you is all you've got. Okay. Next. Yes, they are. What are we talking about? Alex, go. You're muted, darling.
Sorry, I'm muted.
Hi, welcome back. Talk to
I have 2 topic ideas. One is kind of corny, the other one is maybe boring. The corny one would be, have you ever had good habits that helped you be more creative? Like, I don't know, tidy things up or something. And the other one is how to arrange synthesizers in order to dust them off easily.
dust them off.
Yeah, dust them off, clean them, clean
Okay.
the floor.
These both feed into each other. These are good because they're short, and we're going to get out of here soon. Firstly, a good habit is actually cleaning. I have a list. I will tell you on my to-do list on my phone. Here we go. I have this list of things that I do when my brain stops working. Bored, brain lock. That's what it actually says. Do sit-ups. This will reset your brain. And that's in big, bold thing because I always forget. Because when I'm drilling and I'm going, I can't do it anymore. Do sit-ups. Sweep the floor. Do the dishes. Empty the bins. Water the plants. Play with Frank. Clean the oven. Then there's other things such as, transcribing these tracks or long-term things that I've got to be working on. Always remember that the drug of the internet has fucked your frontal lobe. It's fucked it. And the frontal lobe is the thing that goes, well, if I do something now, I will yield a reward for it or not, or I will slightly better my life in 2 years, 2 days, 2 weeks. In the future, your pleasure center is going right here, right now. So if I'm bored and my brain lock, I'm going to start death scrolling. Yay, pleasure center wins. You lose. Think of it as the good angel and the bad angel. So I don't even remember what your questions were, and I'm such a bastard. But make a list of things for you to do when you're going into my brain lock. As far as synthesizers go, and sweeping's great because you get up and you do a physical activity, and it's great. As far as brain lock go, moving synthesizers around, I stack them up and I dust. I have a brush. Does everybody else have a brush? Yes. Ivan, I have a brush. It's a 2-inch long painter's brush. And it's got to be long bristles so you can get into the knobs. And you start at the top and you work your way down.
And
so
natural bristles,
wow,
not the plastic ones.
Yeah, because you've
the
got
natural ones work better.
Yeah, and they do, because they don't fall out, and that's the other thing, man. You don't want fucking bristles that fall out. Start at the top and work your way down, because there's also a how much shit can I fit in my room issue going on. Start at the top and work down. Or you could do something crazy by getting a piece of cardboard, because everything now is covered in cardboard because Frank. And every time I get a new box in, there's like layers of cardboard because he's getting bigger. That I will put it under the keyboard that I'm sweeping. And in LA, man, the dust builds up so fast, really fast. And that's the other thing, is that as you sweep your floor, you are minimizing the amount of dust and everything that gets kicked around. And get a little shop vac, like a little vac thing, and get in behind everything. Dude, the crap that builds up back there is terrifying.
Can of air is also handy.
Yes. Yeah. I got some air. And let's say, Razi, talk to me.
I have those for certain surfaces. I get the pop-up pre-moistened kind of things. Like, it's not the most environmentally friendly, but if there's like cat makes a stain or surfaces and stuff, it's real quick, makes it easy to keep larger things from accumulating. And I have a couple of different anti-static duster sort of things on a stick for key beds and to get around knobs and stuff. Brushes obviously also are super for that. But on the topic of blowing stuff instead of removing stuff, has anybody tried the battery operated or USB rechargeable high velocity things that are supposed to be as good as a can of walking on sunshine duster?
Good. They have a serious habit of not being as good.
I concur. In fact, I even I went to getting I take an air compressor and I blow up basically a big just tank, and I bring it upstairs with a nozzle.
My only issue with the canned air, maybe I need to learn how to use it better, is it comes out wet, just because of reasons, and I get a bit nervous around the synths with that stuff because I assume it's just air, and it's not butane or something like that, but I just get nervous. But they do have their place. In answer to your question, Jen, I prefer vacuuming, because I'm just a vacuuming kind of guy. There's a joke in that. Because I suck. Yeah. Does anybody else want to? And Alex, thank you for letting all of us not answer your question at all. Do we want to keep talking about something? We've got about 10 minutes, or do we want to call it? Hey man, if we want to keep going, I'm okay with it. Boom, 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 boom. And it's something else very interesting about my brain. It's not really, this is boring, is that I make songs for people and they're awful. And I've been doing this since I was a kid. And they're really aggravating. But it's funny that I think that I'm actually quite positive that that fun, playful thing I am doing and have always done is exercising the songwriting part of my brain. And when I don't do it, and when I don't have music in my head that is just being created, I find there's a lack in my neurological processing. I just had a bit of an understanding. I need to start daydreaming music again.
Daydreaming in general is not a bad idea. I'm
Daydreaming
after this to do exactly that.
Yeah, daydreaming good. But I used to. Some of my other daydreams are so loud and so that they don't make room for music. Yeah. This is another curious thing about 5.1 is that when you yes, thank you, Diana. When you have different sounds that are moving in an environment and your brain, the way the brain puts sounds together, like as a musician, you go, that's an oboe, that's a horn, that's a clarinet, and and you hear the instruments playing together, but you can distinguish the sounds. A lot of people can't do that. They just hear sound. And with a bit of training, it's quite easy to go, oh, clarinet. In fact, it's very easy. But the thing about a synthesizer is you don't know, well, where does that very nice shiny DX7 thing end? And where does that big, beautiful analog thing begin? You just hear sound. And when the sound is moving around you, you are in this sonic pool that your brain is putting it all together. It's just part of why my mind is being blown right now. We're going to call it. Thank you so much for being part of this. And Frank does say hi. Thank you, Alistair. Frank, when I got home, man, the other day, Frank was so pissed at me. Jesus, he was mad. This is The Art of Rock. Every Saturday, we're here. Join us. This is made possible with Angelspit's Patreon. Thank you so much for keeping me going. I hope I'm keeping you going. $3 a month or free. If you can't afford it, there's so much stuff there that is free, and everything there will eventually be free. We are doing it again, February 19th. We're going to try and stream it a bit better this time. Maybe we could try and do it in 5.1. I don't know. Anyway, there's the Facebook link. February 19th. The Industrial Incisions playlist, if you want to learn some amazing music, it's there. And if you're on it, please pimp it. And Patreon supporters, send me your fucking music so I can put it on there. If you're bored on Wednesday night, Vulture Culture, Alex's deep dives on synths. Oh man, I fucking love what that guy does. And we also did the Masterclass dark ambient music thing. Really excellent shit. But now we're going. But before we do, thank you always, Razi, for hosting, co-hosting, hosting. Razi's YouTube, Razi's Patreon, Razi's Bandcamp. Please go like it, because you're a fucking rock star.
Thank you.
You rock. Now we are gonna right on over to MTV TV. And if you're watching anywhere else, MTV TV, that's where we're going now. Diana, set that right up. And I didn't stream anywhere else today because everything else is being shitty to me. Because I'm so mad. I'm so angry. Look at my anger. Look at that tail from the Roz. Frank didn't bug me at all today, which is good. Thanks for joining us. You rock. Diana, tell us when we've done the raid. Hug her. Is she doing that because she's hungry?
No, I picked her up for a little while, and then she was like, "Okay, we're done." She left, and now she just wants to walk back and forth across the desk.
That's great.
Hey, cool video on the raid there. That's good stuff that we're watching.
What are we watching?
I know that guy looks really young.
I know. I still have that jacket though.